Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Welcome to AMD Laws. Yeah, on this segment I will teach you how to cut a three-quarter pant. A three-quarter pant. And what you need for this class, you need your French curve, your tape rule, your French curve, your tape rule, your ruler, you need a chalk, and and your scissors. So with no further ado, with no delay, let's dive into the lesson for today. First thing first, you draw a straight line. The reference line, I call this reference line or border line. Either use your French curve or your ruler. So you draw a border line, and this is your border line. And you draw another one to the side, just to make sure you get a straight line and know what you are working with. So here's it. The next thing, the length of this three-quarter pant is 30. Length of this three-quarter pant is 30. We're using 30 for this client. We're using 30 for this client. So 30 plus 2 inch. That's 2 inch for the folding allowance. The same thing here. 30 plus 2, which is 2 inch also, making 32 inch. So this one, including the folding allowance, you can just say, let's say minus 2 from this part, which is the folding allowance. You roll a straight line. Then from this part now, you can take your actual length, which is your 30, which is the 30 and the 30. You also roll a straight line. So the next thing now is to get the crotch height, which is from the crotch height from the waist downward. So to get that crotch height, you divide the hip. The hip we're using for this measurement is 40. We're using 48. So we're using 44. So 44 divided by 4 will give us 11. 11, then you minus 1 from it, making it 10. Remember, to get your crotch height, you divide the hip by 4 minus 1 to give you 10. So this one we're using 44. 44 minus divided by 4 is 11. So 11 minus 1 is 10. So the crotch height is 10. Crotch height is 10. You square it also. Square it. So the next thing is to the knee. On this part, we don't necessarily need the knee and all those curve and all that. You just need the crotch height, the down of the three-quarter pant, and we are good to go. So to get your lap, usually I don't usually measure lap. So most times I calculate my lap using the hip, and it works for almost every measurement. I've tried it on babies and all that. It works perfectly well. So to get your lap measurement, you divide your lap by 4, which is 11. Then you add 3 inch to it, making it 14. So you come here, you mark out your 14. Then you come in from this place here, from this marking, you come in by 2 inch. This is your 2 inch. Come in by 2 inch. So automatically, this is your lap. Then to get the waist measurement, I also do the same thing. Divide the the hip by 4. Sometimes I measure, but most times I don't usually measure. So you can measure fine and good. If you can't measure, use this calculation. You divide the hip by 4, which is 11. You minus half inch from it, making it 10 and half. So you mark your 10 and half there. Then you join this 2 line marking inside this very line. You join it to this line. Join to this line. So we're not done with this one yet. So if you come over here to eradicate that puff, eradicate issues here on this flap, you go down by 1 inch. So from this part, you measure 1 inch down here. Then the pocket line, I usually use 3 inch for my pockets. This is my 3 inch. Then the pocket width I use 3 inch. While the pocket depth I use 8 inch. So this 8 inch now. So this 3 inch, you join these 3 inch points to this 1 inch depth. Pocket 3 inch, 3 inch pocket width, then 1 inch crotch depth. You join it using this part of the French curve. Take note of the part I'm using. Join like this. Then since you're making just a 3/4 pants, it's very easy. What I'll have you do is that just measure from here to here, which give you 12. As in, measure from this two marking in to this your borderline, making it 12. So you just bring down the 12 to your down and the M line, the M allowance. So you just screw it upward. Then with your French curve, try to balance it up. Get it? Then remember that you went in by 2 inch from this marking. So you take the same 2 inch upward. Then from this marking again, divide this from this marking, divide the center which is 1 inch. You mark so like this is your 2 inch, you divide into 2, which give you your 1 inch here. This is center line. Then this bullet is your from here to here is your 2 inch because you actually measure 2 inch from here to here. So what you now do now with the French curve, you will join this point to this point. See, French curve join to this point. So if you join it properly, if you follow everything step by step, you should be here by now. So next thing on our list to cut it out. So to cut it out. You can take your time when cutting so you don't make mistakes. I would suggest, don't mind the sound, I would suggest you play the video over and over and again. So if you don't understand, you can understand properly. You get? So just play the video over and over again. You notch your pocket depth by ½ inch inward. Then you notch the pocket width by 3/4 inch. That is 0.25. You go down now. Then for your zip allowance, I forgot. Your zip allowance, you measure from here. Hello, bros.
I will get a pin.
Which pin now? Alright, for my zip depth, I usually measure from this, from here, from this marking here. Measure like 7 inch. Some I use 8, some I use 7. But this one I'm using 7 for this one. Depends on your preference. It depends on how wide. But your zip, your zip depth, your zip depth should not exceed your 2 inch marking. It should not exceed the maximum of that 2 inch marking or above it. So you shouldn't exceed it. So you cut. Next thing you notch by ½ inch also. Then you kill the back block of the, I say the back block, the wrong side of the cloth. Always mark to the wrong side of the cloth so that it will ease your sewing. It will ease when sewing. So we are to cut. Now we are going to cut out the front block. Sorry, the back block. To cut out the back block is pretty easy because we are using the front block to cut out the back block. It's quite easy, and if you follow to this extent and you've not subscribed, please do it to subscribe, like, comment and share. Do it to subscribe, like, comment and share. Help this video. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure the cloth is balanced so that in order for me to reduce waste when sewing, because that guy is very tiny here, yet so in order to reduce waste when cutting, this is a very good idea. When cutting, try as much as possible to reduce waste. So first thing first, this part. Already we are cutting out the back block. For you to cut the back block, you need to place the front block on top, then cut your inner leg first. See, cut your inner leg first, then try to make everything balanced. Ensure that you are taking your time when doing it, because to avoid mistakes, take your time when doing it. Don't be in a hurry. And if you don't understand, do well to go back to the video again, play it over and over again, then you understand. Then if you have not subscribed, please do well to subscribe, like, comment and share. It will really help the video and to help others also. And if you don't understand anything, please do well to drop your comment. Ask me question at the comment section, and I will do diligence to answer every question. So you notch, this is your folding allowance, you notch it. You notch it also. So what you do next is this. Usually we need 3 inch, at maximum of 3 inch allowance for this part of the trouser. You get? So these are 3 inch. If you check it properly, this from here to here is not 3 inch. So what I'll just do, I'll just extend this front block to this line. Then I will extend this line now, this very line. We don't have any problem with that back anymore. Just extend the line. Then from this point, you measure your 3 inch out. Okay, this is your, from here you measure 3 inch out. Then you go in by 1 inch. That is from here you measure 3. From here you measure 3 inch and you go in by 1 inch. Remember this part is 3 inch. You also take the same, put the same 3 inch upward here. Then on this your 3 inch marking, you measure 2 inch. So that 2 inch now is for the seam allowance here and seam allowance here. You get? So you measure your 2 inch. Then on this part, it's a bit tricky here. So on this part, you measure your 2 inch also. You roll it up, measure it down. Then you join this 3 inch to this 3 inch. So join this point, then you join this point to this point with a French curve. So just measure. So this, if you watch video to this place, congratulations, because you've been able to draft out a trouser, or sorry, a 3/4 pant. So the next thing on your list, the same thing you're supposed to do now is to measure 3 inch from this part here. Remember, this is where I place the tape, 3 inch upward. Okay, it's from this part, 3 inch upward. Then remember, we've not added our dart allowance, which is 1 inch. 1 inch dart allowance from here to here, 1 inch. So this is your dart allowance. So you're joining this part to this part. You're joining this your dart allowance to this line. Hello guys. Alright, welcome back. That was sorry for the little break. So remember I said you measure your 2 inch from this part to here, your 2 inch from here to here. You roll a straight line. Just a quick recap. You roll a straight line. Then from this part here now, from the part you measure 2 inch upward. So from this 2 inch upward. So you measure 3 inch upward. So from this 3 inch, you get a straight line across this very line. Then from this 3 line, you measure 1 inch This one, which is your dart allowance. Now from this point, you slope it down. Remember on the front part, we use this part, we use it like this. Then on the back, you rotate it or you flip it over. Okay. So thanks for watching. We'll be able to draft out a 3/4 pant. Please stay tuned and watch how we sew this 3/4 pant and arrive at a better fitting. And I bet you're going to get following or subscribing to this channel. Please do wait to subscribe, like, share and comment. So before anything else, from this part now, remember there's 1 inch allowance here. So from this part, you measure 5 inch inward. That 5 inch inward is for your dart placement. This is your dart placement. You know 5 inch inward for your dart placement. You also notch your dart placement. Then you indicate the wrong side of the fabric. Always indicate the wrong side of the fabric. Don't forget, this is your zip. This for your zip allowance. Always indicate the wrong side of your fabric. Thanks for watching. Please do well to subscribe, like, comment, so that if you find this video interesting and worth sharing, please do well too. And don't leave without subscribing. See you on the next one. On the next one, I'll be teaching you how to gum or how to add stay, how to add cloth gum stay to this, how to gum the pocket, the flap and everything.